All right. Information coming in of the Prime Minister's departure now, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on a three-nation visit to Cyprus, to Canada and to Croatia. As the Prime Minister's three-nation visit that will begin with Cyprus, marking it the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the island nation in over 2 decades. And this visit also holds a significance, as Cyprus has been a consistent supporter of India's position on cross-border terrorism and reforms in the United Nations Security Council. From Cyprus, the Prime Minister then will head to Canada to attend the G7 summit, where an invitation was extended. And at the summit, the Prime Minister will exchange views on global issues and hold several bilateral meetings on the sidelines as well. And the final leg would be his visit to Croatia, marking the first high-level visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the country. Well, Rishabh, the Prime Minister's departure pictures that have now come in.
Well, this is very, very crucial visit for Indian Prime Minister. It is the first visit post Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor, and Prime Minister would be meeting the world leaders in Canada, but also the two other countries, Cyprus and Croatia. The two countries are very, very important. Let's talk about Cyprus first, which will be the first stop for Prime Minister later today. He'll be holding bilateral meeting with the President of Cyprus and other dignitaries in Cyprus. But why is this significant? This is also a messaging. A, India's outreach in Mediterranean, and B, it is also important given that Cyprus's support to India, especially on the issue of Kashmir, as well as when it comes to cross-border terrorism or UNSC reforms and all, Cyprus has stood by India. Also, Cyprus, via Cyprus, we are sending a message, a loud and clear message to countries like Azerbaijan and Turkey as well. Turkey in the region have had issues with Cyprus for long. And with the Prime Minister's presence in Cyprus, a strong message is also being sent to Ankara about their stand post-Operation Sindoor. So that is something. After that, Prime Minister would be leaving for Canada, where he'll be attending the G7 outreach program. This will be the fifth straight time when Prime Minister would be attending a G7 summit. And what we are given to understand that in Canada, we might see a bilateral between Indian Prime Minister and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney as well. The first for the Prime Minister since G20. Prime Minister hasn't had bilateral with Canadian side in last 2 years, and in the last bilateral between India and Canada at the Prime Minister level happened only during the Canadian Prime Minister's visit to India, that too before G20. In G20, we did not see any bilateral happening between India and Canada, sit-down bilateral. There were talks that happened in G20, and that's where India also raked up the issue of anti-India rhetoric coming in from Canada and Canadian government support to that. So now, in the bid to reset the ties, Mark Carney has invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Canada. It would be interesting to see how things unfold there. On way back, Prime Minister would be going to Croatia. Again, very important. India's outreach in Balkan region has been long due, and now with Prime Minister's visit to Croatia, that will get a new impetus. Remember, Prime Minister was supposed to travel to Croatia in the month of May itself, but because of Operation Sindoor, that visit got cancelled. Now it's being done on way back from G7.
Absolutely. As far as when it comes to Operation Sindoor, this is going to be the first international visit of the Prime Minister, a three-nation visit that the Prime Minister has now embarked upon. The departure pictures that are now coming in of the Prime Minister, his first stop would be in Cyprus, thereafter to Canada, the G7 summit. And Rishabh, this was also a point when in all likelihood Donald Trump and Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, would be coming in together. Of course, when it comes to India-Canada relations as well, that is also an important highlight.
As of now, about India-US bilateral meeting happening in Canada, but in all likelihood, when the two leaders will be at the same platform, it is very clear that both the leaders and both the countries would like to hold the bilaterals there as well. This will be the second bilateral meeting for Prime Minister Modi with Donald Trump, if it happens in Canada. Apart from that, the French President, the Italian Prime Minister, as well as the British Prime Minister are expected to be present in Canada for the G7 summit, and all these meetings will be
so an
crucial.
excerpt from the Prime Minister's departure statement, where he says that this three-nation tour is also an opportunity to thank partner countries in their steadfast support to India in our fight against cross-border terrorism, and to galvanize global understanding on tackling terrorism in all its forms and manifestations as well. So that is the Prime Minister's statement, departure statement. As far as his three-nation visit is now concerned, the Prime Minister's departure statement and his pictures that are now coming in as we speak. For the moment, Rishabh, thank you very much for joining in. We'll be back on the other side of a very short break.